Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey guys, this is Cruise Roy on the Ford Explorer 02. It's got one of these 4.0 liter motors with the dual overhead cams, and right now I'm just going to attempt to take off the rear cassette, just show you what I had to go through. From what I understand, you have to have these tools to lock this down so the cam doesn't move while you're trying to loosen this nut. You have a Torx down here and another Torx here to take out the guide chains, and there was one up here that's already out. I have to get a replacement for because it got broken. It didn't get broken, it got worn out by the chain. But anyways, this is tightened down. And what you need is a Torx 55. That's for this. And a Torx 25 is for this little guy here that holds the chain guides. This is also another one of Ford's special tools. It's a jack shaft chain. It can hold this sprocket, the jack sprocket, while you're trying to loosen it up with a breaker bar, and you got to put some serious pressure on this, so you know, get yourself a good set of Torx. And this one here is just a nut. It's a 19 millimeter, but the only difference is it's not righty tighty lefty loosey. This one is you tighten it to loosen it. This one here on the back side, rear cassette, you tighten it, it'll loosen. It's a left-hand thread. Alright, so I pretty much got it loose. I'm just going to go through it so people understand it and how you got to go about it. The first one I did is I took a bolt, a spare bolt I had laying around. It's the same as a tranny bolt. Put it in the tranny bolt position. So this jack, this has got a little small handle on it. I did it so I had something to hold on to, plus it could ride against the bolt here. Alright, and like I said, this one's your standard thread, but it's a Torx, and you use them both in conjunction. You got to hold this tight and loosen this, and you got the cam held so the cam don't move on you. So let's take that out. Show you what it looks like. Now this is I'm assuming I gotta find out which one's a torque to yield, but certain bolts on this motor are torque to yield, and you know, that's a pretty looking bolt, and I'm assuming it's not cheap. We'll put that up here. I'll take the guide chain. Now this one has, I think you can reuse this one. This one here has an O-ring on it. Like I said, I already loosened everything, so just take your time. Just use moderate pressure. Don't try to snap them, because you can see what the size of the thread is here. I think these are reusable. I would get a new O-ring, but I don't think these are torque to yield, but that holds the guide in there. Alright, now also the same thing applies if you leave this in. You leave this into the jack shaft, because that'll help you hold to do the upper two. So I mean, you can do it first if you want the upper one, because that's the one that's the left-hand thread, but the same thing, you put that. What you have to do for the left-hand thread is change this bolt out. Change this bolt that I just grabbed from anywhere, and you put it on this side, because now you're going to be tightening. So you can put the bolt back in the sprocket on the lower one and just snug it up, just to give you something so it doesn't pop out. But the same thing, you can line the jack shaft up, and if you have to, put a socket on this nut so you have the proper spacing so this doesn't move at all, it holds it into place. And like I said, this one here is tightened to loosen. So I'm just showing, just making this video so people know, and we're going to go on to, you know, what I can see. But right now I got it loose. Once you got it loose, you have to remove this tool. So you take this tool off, and we're going to loosen this tool up. But there's a whole set of these tools in the little box, and it works in conjunction with holding the cams and the harmonic balancer and stuff while you time the chains. And I just wanted to show you something where I'm having a problem understanding, which I guess if it's not me, it's a bunch of people. But I'm just going to put that in for now. Let's get this out of here. These are a 5mm. I'm just putting them in the valve cover spare holes there so I don't lose them. Okay, so there's the Ford tool. It has pins to lock into the sprocket here, and it mounts to the head, and it holds it, I'm assuming right now while I'm loosening, but when we go to install, it holds it in the proper position. I'm top dead center now, so trying to keep the cam from moving. I also recognize that the cam has a flat lobe here, like the other side has a nub. The nub is right here. The flat spot is parallel with the head, so I'm assuming that's where you get your top dead center. But anyways, to show you something why this is just getting confusing to me, is if you loosen these bolts, they get a little bit more snug here. If you notice, keep going. Alright. If you look at the timing chain, there's no keyways. Look. So that's where the it's hard to understand how you time this. There's no keyway. It's on a shaft where it's pressure fit, and that's why you got to torque these down. But if you notice, if they're loose, they just spin. So if you don't torque these down right, you'll go right out of time and not realize it. So you have these two nuts that have to be pressure fitted onto the jack shaft and the camshaft. Otherwise it just sits there and spins. So I'm like asking all these questions. How do you time it? Is this going to have a dot here? You know, going to face this way? I guess it doesn't really matter. It's where the cams are. The chains don't matter. Anyways, let's try to get this out of here. The whole purpose of today is to get this rear cassette out and look for some more parts. You don't really want to take the girdle off because it has to be realigned to line up with the transmission. I don't know, I heard a lot of bad stories about it, but I want to try to find any pieces that are left over in the motor. Like I said, just remember the right cassette rear is left-hand threads. Alright, so now it's like reach in here, grab the piece of guide that's left. Here's my guide, and then one little piece of plastic left on it, but the white was all missing. I did see the photographs of when I sent it to Ford to check it, and they took these out. They were laying up here. They fly out and they come up here, which is a good thing. So now, take the sprocket out of here. You know, and I don't know if this dot means anything, but it leaves a mark on the back of the sprocket. So, I have to ask that question too, I guess. But the cam hasn't moved from the top dead center. Take that out of there. And the tricky part is getting the bottom. I'll just put this here for a second. Getting that bottom sprocket off. There's not a lot of room in there. Let me take this guide bolt out that I've been using just for leverage. We'll call it a leverage bolt. Come around. Alright. So down in the hole. Oh, and the other thing is, it's a 27mm wrench to remove this nut right here. And this is your tensioner. Let's get that out of the way. Now, there's just enough room for that sprocket to come off. And I don't know if you can see down in there, but I'm going to take this big screwdriver and just kind of nudge it off. Kind of nudge it forward a little bit. Put your finger in here. There we go. And you have to kind of twist it a little bit. The first time getting it out, she wouldn't come, but there's a little bit of room down here. It's actually the tranny bolt, the casting inside, but you have to go kick it just a little bit over, and there you go. So my rear timing chain didn't break. The cassette plastic all broke, but you know, my thing was, is there any special way to put this chain, or does it just go on any way you want, and it's when you tighten the bolts that it goes into time? Because we used to deal with link number 1 here. The dark link is always number 1. So do you have to set this up to put it in? I don't know, but just showing you taking it apart today. Alright, now like I said, today was getting that off. And if you look way in there, there's a piece right now sitting there, and I didn't realize it was a little one, and there's a little hole there, and it got pushed in. So I don't want to remove the girdle, but I might have to. But I'm going to try to get that little piece out. But that's my challenge today, is to look for any pieces and try to dig them out of the motor. I got the lower oil pan off, and also I want to show you, so you don't lose it. I can see the piece right there. It's in this bottom thing. There is a big spacer here on the jack shaft, so remember that's in there. And I'm going to try to get it off right now, because there was something else I wanted to show you. Let me go on the other side. Everything's oily and slippery, so it doesn't come off. Let's see how it spins. It's not spinning the jack shaft or anything, it's just a bushing. What's this time? It doesn't want to come out. Oil can act like a magnet sometimes. But you really need to pull this. I'll show you once I get it out. But let me see if I can get this on there. kind of stuck in the oil. Almost got it there. You don't want to scratch this. This is a very smooth machined piece, so the sprocket actually rides around this, but the oil does act like a magnet here. But you can tell it's got this tapered, so when you tighten it, it must lock the jack shaft in place, you know, besides the smaller sprocket here. Because that's what's weird, the smaller sprocket just sits like this. It just sits like this. You know, oil creates a magnet that just sticks there. But when you tighten that bolt, it all ties together and puts pressure on it and keeps it timed. Alright, that's what I'm assuming. I'm just showing you taking apart. I'm learning as I go along here how to do this. But anyways, that's the lower gear. But what I wanted to show you in here, I have to use the video glasses, but something to point with. Like I said, you can see a little piece in there I gotta get out. But way in here, the oil drive chain, this is the gear to drive the oil pump. There's a piece right in here and it's wedged pretty good, so I gotta tinker with it today to get it out of there. Alright, but you have to get that out of there. I don't see anything wrong with the gear or the oil pump, and this car was driven right into this garage, so the oil pump was working. So that just kind of wedged itself in there and melted in place, so we'll get that out. Alright. So, I just want to, the whole idea for this video was to show you how to get the cassette out. Now I'm going to play and try to find the parts, and that's kind of common sense. I'm not going to do a whole video of that because it's probably going to take me most of the day just to find a few little miscellaneous parts in here. What I can show you, as someone said, you know, take a Q-tip, put blue grease on it, and the parts will probably stick and come out with it. But so we can try that. But this is Cruiseroy, rear cassette on the 4.0. Hope it's helped someone out. I'll be doing the rest. I'm going to do the rear cassette first and then work my way to the front and replace all of this. So I did this video to help anybody else out that doesn't understand, and hopefully it helps you out. And this is Cruiseroy, and I'm out of here.